Audible?
Yes, totally.
Okay, a very good afternoon to you all. I would firstly like to thank the organizing committee for giving me this opportunity to present my paper in this international conference. So without further delay, I would make an excuse here because I didn't realize that we have to make only 3 slides. I have more than 3 slides, but I'll make my presentation as quick as possible and as simple as possible. So my topic is on a thematic analysis, sources of occupational stress and health complaints of secondary school teachers of private sector in Nagaland. We often hear that teaching is a very noble profession and it is a very significant profession. It sounds very exhilarating when we say that teaching is that one profession that creates all other professions. We feel that they have all the autonomy or they have all the power or status. However, studies around the world have found that teaching is a very high stress and emotionally taxing occupation. And the job of a teacher is both physically and mentally demanding, and it takes a lot of energy to carry out the task, which is seen as a source of occupational stress. So the teacher's occupational stress is related to a variety of sources such as students' misbehavior or low salary or multiple roles to play or large class size and lack of administrative support. All of these have been identified as the most common sources of occupational stress across the globe. And this prolonged stress leads to feeling of exhaustion and physical ill health, especially related to musculoskeletal pain such as neck pain, shoulder pain, and low back pain. So Kairauku suggests that although it may be highlighted the most common sources of occupational stress, there are differences between countries in teachers' occupational stress sources in relation to their educational system, attitudes, values, and also the school system as a whole. Despite the fact that various studies have provided some insight, the literature on teacher stress has generally employed quantitative approaches with predetermined responses. Hence, there is a need for a qualitative and comprehensive study regarding the sources of occupational stress of Nagaland teachers and its impact on health in order to include a wide range of contexts and individuals in the literature. Yes, with a systematic review of literature, 2 research questions guided this study. That is like, what are the most common sources of occupational stress of private secondary school teachers of Nagaland, and what effect does it have on their health? So in qualitative study, in order to select participants and identify and select data-rich information linked to a topic of interest, purposive sampling is commonly employed in qualitative research. Hence, the participants were purposively selected among participants complaining of occupational stress, working in private secondary schools in one of the metropolitan areas of Nagaland. Also, the saturation criteria was used in order to select the participants for the study. That is, saturation is the point at which data collection procedure stops producing fresh or relevant data. As such, 7 participants were interviewed, all of whom were female. A semi-structured interview was utilized to collect the data, with the participants being asked 2 core questions. And it gave participants a chance to talk about their experiences in their own words and in greater depth. Each interview lasted for about 25 to 40 minutes, and it continued until no new ideas arose, suggesting saturation. For analyzing the data, thematic analysis was used following Brown and Clark's 6 phases, wherein in the first phase, familiarization of the data was done. In the second phase, initial quotes were generated. In the third phase, themes were identified and a thematic map was created. In the fourth and fifth phase, reviewing and naming of themes were done. Teams that lacked adequate data were dropped and teams that were similar to each other were combined. And in the last phase, a report was created that would demonstrate the entire story of the data. So the data analysis revealed 3 global themes regarding the sources of occupational stress, that is the organizational climate, classroom and students, and external issues. Under organizational climate, the most reported sources of occupational stress by the participants were role ambiguity, role multiplicity, workload, low salary, and lack of administrative support. And under classroom and students, large class size and students' misbehavior. And under external issues, lack of status and job insecurity. And for the impact on health, two global themes emerged, that is the musculoskeletal pain and burnout. And under musculoskeletal pain, teachers complained about neck pain, back pain, headache, and migraine. And under burnout, teachers complained about being exhausted, fatigue, and loss of energy by the end of the day. So the prominent finding of this study is that the theme, that is the external issue, which were not very recurrent in other studies, came out to be very prominent in my study, that is the job insecurity and lack of status, which can be seen in the following excerpts given by some of the participants. So for job insecurity, I think there will never be a day when you can say that I'm finally safe or I won't be terminated from this job, which is very stressful. And for lack of status, we work so hard, but then at the end of the day, people often tend to compare teaching in a private institution with government institutions. They do not see working here as one's career, but as an option for not getting a government job. In conclusion, though the findings of this study suggested that the problem is widespread in Nagaland and that it should be investigated at a larger scale, and that teachers should be rewarded and appreciated for their efforts, and the school administrators should provide supportive and conducive services where both the teachers and students could talk about their difficulties and concerns, and then also schools and policymakers should implement interventions or programs in order to enhance the mental and physical well-being of the teachers. Though the study has provided provided some insight, however, this study is not without any limitation. Had this study included various demographic variables, the result could have been different, and owing to the small sample size, this finding cannot be generalized to the whole population of the Nagaland. So these are the references that I've referred, and thank you so much for the time.